Alrighty, so I enjoy doing the May and June book hauls video so much. I enjoy doing the May and June video book hauls so much that I am going to now actually do March and April's from this year. I'm just going to do March and April's. I'm not going to go any further back than March and April. So I'm going to do March and April's right now of the books I got in March and April from March and April's book haul. Pretty much going to be like the same thing, but maybe just different books and different things that I'm going to go over. So anybody who is interested in what I'm reading or what I'm kind of investing my time in to read and stuff like that, you can watch this video or maybe watch the playback. I mean, it will probably be on YouTube. I mean, the video, depending on how long it is, won't be posted to Instagram, because Instagram, it can't be over a certain amount of time for you to post it to Instagram. So I know the last one I did was 50 minutes, and then I just did a shorter one. But this is gonna maybe be another 50-minute or more video, depending on how it goes, because there's still a lot of ground to cover for what was it? April and March. So, where to begin? I got this book. I think I took the sticker off of it. I got this book. Um, I got this book. I either got this book at Goodwill or I got this book from the free library. I can't remember. I think I got this book at Goodwill, if I'm not mistaken. I do go to the free libraries like around town sometimes and find books. I think one or a couple of these books are actually came from the free library. This book in particular, I think, actually came from Goodwill. It's a Christian book by Matthew Kelly. It's called "I Heard God Laugh." Um, there was actually a nice little actually had somebody's thing in here. Little memorial thing in here, but um, it has a little bookmark I had found in there. So thought that was interesting. Um, you never know what you'll find in books. Sometimes I find cards and stuff in books, and it's crazy. I'll find transcriptions. I'll find all kinds of stuff in books. Unfortunately, I never find money. People say you go to Goodwill, you reach in the pocket of something, you can pull out like tens of thousands of dollars. I never actually done that. Of course, you got to give it to Goodwill if you find it usually. So, but I've never found $1,000 worth of anything in books or anything. But books are worth a lot more than $1,000. Books are very worth. Books are like knowledge passed on to generations, and those who read or those who try to read and try to educate themselves, it's a really opportunity to grow and evolve and expand. Grow and evolve and expand. Um, and So I have this book. I have this book which I kind of got back because everybody knows that I had a lot of my, I want to say pro black, or they call it pro black books, but I had a lot of my cultural pro black books at one point that I decided to donate to Goodwill and stuff like that. But there were a couple of them that still kind of made their way around still, because I had donated it. Originally I had put them in the community room, but I didn't think there were people here that would appreciate them. I think people would have just defaced them, because there are people here that will probably deface that type of stuff, or kind of damage it, or just trying to rip it or something. So I didn't want those to be defaced. I wanted them to be donated, but I didn't want them to totally be destroyed, because I obviously paid money for them, and I wanted somebody else to enjoy them. But I had a couple of books originally downstairs before I ended up donating about like 5 bags or so this past holiday to the Torrington Goodwill. But I had kept this one. I mean, there was obviously another one. There was obviously another one which I maybe should have kept. I wasn't sure. I was debating on it, but I kept Michelle Obama's "The Light We Carry." I kept Michelle Obama's "The Light We Carry." So I have that on. I have that for a book. Um, this is a Goodwill book. This was a Goodwill book. It cost me like $2 or so. $1 or $2 for this book. It's a book by Joyce Myers. It's called Living Courageously. You can face anything, just do it afraid. And she's a Christian woman. She's like a pastor, or like an outspoken minister, like Christian minister, and she, Christian books are like self-help books too. People are so quick to dismiss, Christian books because they think it's always just religious. It's religious, but you can find a lot of self-help answers in religious books too, where people are like books on God too. So it's not like you just like books that are just supposed to be psychology that are just going to have all the answers. Sometimes there's actual books that people write on God and finding God and stuff like that. You can actually get, really good inspiration from, and obviously maybe it will help you also turn to God to be able to seek a better, relationship with, with Him, or, or whoever you choose to be your higher power to, help you in your recovery or your life or wherever you stand in life to, overcome the obstacles that you face. But I got this book at Goodwill. That was a book. I mean, I'd gone to Goodwill on my own at one point. I think it was in like April or May. I'd gone to Goodwill on my own. I had taken a trip. I had taken the ride service up to Goodwill. So I had gotten a couple of books. Actually, I did it before my rent cleared, and I was lucky enough not to spend like a little bit more money than I did, because if I did, the rent would have bounced. That's how close I was to actually almost bouncing my rent. So I'm glad I'm gonna have to maybe just be extra careful on how much I spend and stuff like that. So, and that was God's grace there. But all right, so I got this book by T.D. Jakes. It's called Disruptive Thinking: A Daring Strategy to Change How We Live and Lead and Love. And on the back, this is what it says. This book is about those of us who are willing to change our lives rather than to live in the regrets of what if, what might have, or what should have happened. It is about those of us willing to change the plot of our community, our office, our church, our own behavior. If we are not willing to disrupt the status quo, if you're more than comfortable running with the herd, and the trust of this book might not include you. But if there's a drive inside of you that suspects you might have a better life, a better love, a better marriage, a better career, then I suggest to you that as a man thinketh in his heart, you can think your way into disruption without being destructive, with the lasting intent of changing your world in your own lifetime. So that was a book by T.D. Jakes, which I had ordered. I think that was from Amazon. I think at one point, I think I paid like $5 for that. I forget. Like I usually a lot of T.D. Jakes books and some of the Christian books. I've been known to get them for like $5, on Amazon, and just like, and sometimes that includes shipping, or sometimes it's free shipping. So it all depends, So I got this from the one of the Torrington free libraries, over by City Hall. I got this. This is a Christian book by Toby Mack. It's called The City on Our Knees. It's a Christian book, and Toby Mack is a very, critically acclaimed Christian singer. And he wrote this book, and I said, as soon as I saw it, I said, "Oh yeah, I gotta grab this." I actually grabbed this when I actually had to leave my apartment for a little while, because I had to get some work done on my apartment. So I had to leave my apartment for a little while, and I had to get out of the house and just go do something. So I had walked over to City Hall, and I actually ended up finding this book, and a book I thought was going to be from my mom, but my mom already had that book, so I had to, I ended up donating it to somebody else, but I ended up keeping this one because this is the one I wanted to get for myself, and I definitely do not regret it. So, this is another book from Goodwill. I mean, this is a random book. This is actually a random book. Sometimes I'll pick up random books from Goodwill because you never know if the book interests me and if it's something that would be like a more of a writing or self help type of thing, or etc. I will pick up the book and I will definitely get it. You know, I've picked up books on how to write essays. I picked up books on how to be mindful, like mindful writing meditations and things and stuff like that. But this book is called Writing Down Your Soul by Jeanette Connor. How to actively and listen to the extraordinary voice within. And I got this at Goodwill for like $1 or $2. So I thought this would be a really good, it's like a self-help, writing book. I thought that'd be kind of good as a writer to read. So I had gotten that one. This is another book I picked up from Goodwill. It's another Joyce Meyers book. It says, Your battles belong to the Lord. Know your enemy and be more than a conqueror. That was by Joyce Meyers, which I picked up with the other Joyce Meyers and that other book I just showed you about writing. And I think it was like April or March I had picked these up. So this was a book by another book by Joyce Meyers. She's a Christian pastor and author. So every once in a while, you know me, as I said in like some of my other videos, I always look for poetry because sometimes you can reread poetry in your videos, and you can do a lot with poetry. You can read them at the open mics, or you can just read them and just appreciate it, But I found a child's anthology of poetry. I mean, it's a child's anthology. It's not like an adult anthology, but it's still a child's anthology, and it's still poetry. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I picked up a child's anthology of poetry, which only cost me like $1 or $2 for the child's anthology of poetry. Okay. I got a lot to get through. I'm trying to get through this as fast as as reasonable as I can, but I still want to explain a little bit about the books. So I got this book, which I read through. I read through, and some of the poems were really good. This is a book by R.H. Sin, who's a well-known writer and well-known popular writer, and he's an African American guy. He's well known. He's put out tons of books, and he's married to another well-known writer, I think named Samantha King Holmes, or Samantha King Sin now. I don't know if she changed her last name or just she kept the writing name. But I had gotten this book probably I want to say April, March. And I was running around with somebody I don't hang out with anymore. I was running around with him, and we're getting pizzas and things, and I remember just having a little bit of time to sit in the park and actually read through this. So I actually read through some of this in the park, and it's a pretty good book. It's a pretty good book. It's called Planting the Gardens and Graves Volume 2. I have Volume 3 and I have Volume 1 already, so I didn't have Volume 2, and Volume 2 was still on my wish list. So I got Volume 2. Oh, I got Volume 2, yeah. And it only cost me like $5-6. A lot of times I only pay $5-6 for books. I mean, if you wait a while and you wait for things to like really get reasonable and people to have like a couple like some used copies, you're most likely to get a book at like $5-6. Sometimes free shipping. You don't have to always pay full price. You get like free shipping and pay like $5, and it's pretty good. So this is another book I got at Goodwill for May and April, or no, for April and March. I keep getting March and May confused. But this is Get Out of Your Head, Stopping the Spiral of Toxic Thoughts by Jenny Allen. It's a New York bestseller, and it's a book on stopping toxic thoughts, which I thought was something I should definitely be reading, because sometimes my mind really gets very toxic, and I got a lot of clutter in it, and my head gets very, kind of, stressed and heavy. So this is a book I got by Janine Allen. So that scared the crap out of me, but that was my books falling all over the floor. That's not good, but hey, I'll pick them up in a little bit. I'm going to continue this video. Alrighty, so I got this for $5-6. It's a book of poetry by Jim Carroll. It's called The Void of the Void of course. He's the author of the Basketball Diaries. I mean, he had some uh I forget who he was involved with. He had some very very influential connections. It says new poems from the diarist and rock musician Jim Carroll, and he had some very interesting connections. I forget who some of his connections were, but in the back it says in 1973, at the age of 22, Jim Carroll burst upon the poetry scene with his first collection, Living at the Movies, a book of vivid and intuitive verse that won him comparisons to everyone from Lombard to Frank O'Hara. The Void, of course, presents new work composed over the last several years. Carroll's major themes: love, friendship, desire, time, memory, and above all, the ever-present city, emerged in the atmosphere where dream and reality mingle on equal terms. These are 75 poems that range from graphic to sensuous, shorter pieces to edgier stream of consciousness prose poems, that to lengthier, more contemplative works such as While She's Gone. An eerie tour de force of longing over the departed lover. The Void, of course, establishes that Carroll's power and the purity of the visions are stronger than ever. So I got another book by Jim Carroll. This is called The Fear of Dreaming. The selected poems of Jim Carroll. I'm trying to see if it says who it says he was, because he was in with some very influential people, and I know he's a very influential poet. So, but yeah, that's what I got from him. And I picked up this, which is the poetry deal by Diane D. Prima, and she is I believe she's considered a beat poet. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe she's considered one of the beats, or one of the influential beats, or in the group of the beats, or somebody who was very influential to them. And it says it in the back. Yeah, she's a beat poet. She's a beat poet. So the poetry deal is the first volume of new poetry in decades from the legendary feminist, beat poet, and political look at the 40 years of the Bay Area culture that often eclectic in tone. The book captures the poet's sense of loss as she chronicles the deaths of friends from AIDS, the epidemic, as well as the passing of illustrators, contour colleagues. Yet, she even has laments of the state of her city today. She finds triumph and solace in her own relationships, the marriages of her friends, and the endurance of the city lights and other symbols of San Francisco's heritage. So yeah, she was a beat poet. So I picked this book up. I actually got a good deal on this book. I actually had this on my wish list. It was one by one of my poetry friends on Facebook. So I finally got his book. I found a really good deal on it, so I got it. And it's called Brothers Sleep by Aldo M. I don't know, I'm going to screw up his last name, but um, you know, uh, he's a poet from El Paso, Texas. So so he wrote a book called Brothers Sleep, and I had found a good deal on it, and I ended up ordering it because it was on my wish list. So I now have his book. Um, So yeah, there was a little bit of a hubbub or a little bit of an issue, and then ignore the banging or the clatter up above me, because the banging or clatter up above me is my noisy neighbor who is basically just being annoying and being being like very disruptive, and that's what we deal with around here, disruptive people who blast their radios and all kinds of crap, and to have to deal with neighbors that you have to address with the cops are housing. But anyways, basically what happened in March and April, basically, my mother and I were sharing a my mother my mother and I was sharing my mother and I were sharing a Amazon account, right? My mother and I were sharing an Amazon account. And my mother got upset because obviously there were some charges on her Amazon account, and she just couldn't treat me like an adult. So there were some issues with that, and issues over the Amazon account. So bottom line is, I'm still gonna owe my mom some money at some point if I ever have money to give her. And we don't really share an Amazon account anymore. It was actually taken care of. She understood. We settled our dues. But I did get a couple of books in March and April on my mom. So this is one of them. This is called The Poetry of Peterach. He's a poet. I believe he's a poet from Tuscany, Tuscany, Italy. So I've been trying to look into a lot of more Italy type of poets. So he's a poet from Italy that I try to invest in. So thanks to my mom. I'm thankful to my mom in that one, I'm gonna say. But so I had. So this is actually a used library copy. I actually got it off of Amazon, but it was sent to me as a used library copy. But I was on a different site looking at this book. And I didn't really want to do business with the seller because the seller screwed me out of one thing I had ordered from them before. She screwed me out of something, so I didn't really want to continue doing business with that seller, even though I liked the fact that she had these books. So luckily Amazon had them cheaper, and I was paying a lot less for them. So I got this book for like $5. It's called The 6 Strategies of Finding Real Connections in Your Life: The Core of Loneliness by Corey Floyd, PhD. It's one of those PhD books about self-help and finding real connections of your life, and I'm going to try to overcome loneliness and stuff like that. So I have this book to enjoy. And believe it or not, I got one book left of this stack, but I got a whole nother stack to go through. So be patient with me, because I'm trying my best to get through this. I promise this will be the last book haul video for a while. I might wait every 2 months to do a book haul video, just because I want things to build up, and I want to be able to really show off what I could do, if I get anything at all at that point. But so this is a book called The Vibes You Feel, and this is by Kiri Shiard. This is by hold on. This is by Kiri Shiard Kelly, and she's a Christian. I'm probably screwing up names. I'm sorry if I am, but she's a Christian singer. So this is another Christian book I got off my wish list. Another Christian book I got off my wish list with the T.D. Jakes book. So I have a couple more. I have several more Christian books on my wish list, but this was another Christian book I got off my wish list. Alrighty. There's no more soda. Alrighty. I'm gonna try to do this without having a drink because my mouth is gonna get very dry in the next couple hours. Alrighty, so I got this poem book. It was recommended to me by for Italian poets. I'm not sure if she really is an Italian poet. I saw a picture of her online. This Linda Pastan, but it's called The Carnival Evening: New and Selected Poems, 1968 to 1998, which is a poetry book I got by Linda Pastan. So. She was recommended to me by of like, Italian poets. She may not come from Italy per se, but she may be Italian. I was looking for more people that were more, and it kind of came from Italy. Kind of came from the root of Italy. That poets that were actually in Italy. Not the States, but. But yeah, Linda Pastan is the Poet Laureate of Maryland, 1991 to 95. She is the author of 9 previous collections of poetry. She lives in Potomac, Maryland. So I got that book. So people love him, people hate him, people love him, people hate him, people say he's a false preacher, some people, it's all up in the air, but I got a book by Joel Osteen. I actually happen to like some of his preaching. I don't know if I always trust his personality, but I think he's very uplifting at times. I think sometimes, though, it gets kind of bullshit, And I won't lie, people know it, too, because people have called him out on it, too, that sometimes serious shit happens and stuff to his church, and he goes to so serious shit and things happen, and he's not really... helping the community, and people say he's kind of, more for the money, more for the fame, and he's kind of a bullshit preacher. But I got a book by Joel Osteen called Becoming a Better You. 7 Keys to Improving Your Life Every Day by Joel Osteen. So this is another Italian poet, and I believe he has connections to the Beats. I know Patti Smith also wrote some stuff about him. This came directly from this kind of came from a poet directly from Italy. It was also a City Lights poetry book that does a lot with the beat poets and stuff. So I might screw up his name, but I'm going to try to read it. Pasolini. I'm not really sure. He was an Italian filmmaker in Rome. It's called Rome Poems by Pasolini or Pasolini. It says on the back that he's an Italian filmmaker. Pier Paolo Pasolini was the first and always poet of the most important civil poet, according to Alberto Morvera, in Italy in the second half of this century. His poems were at once deeply personal and passionately engaged in political turmoil in his country. In 1949, after his homosexuality led the Italian Communist Party to expel him on charges of moral and political unworthiness, Pasolini fled to Rome. This section of poems is from his early improvisation days to his last, with a backward longing glance at his narrative for Luni, I don't know. It is the center of his poetic and filmic vision of the modern Italian life as an inferno. Pasolini was born in 1922 in Bologna. In addition to his films, for which he is world famous, he wrote novels, poetry, social and cultural criticism, and was an accomplished painter. He was murdered in 1975 at Ostia, near Rome. So I got this as a free book. And it's funny because I just happen to be kind of going through people. People hear me talk about all the changes of views on society and how people want to promote the woke movement and the woke culture about for the black culture. The black culture wants to kind of change society and kind of has an issue with being citizens of the United States and stuff like that, and has a problem kind of where we're headed with the country in America. But I kind of was just on YouTube one day and I kept hearing these like preview, these preview things, like these like the ads that were like before like videos, and they were all about this guy Victor Davis Hanson that was talking about citizenship and what it means to be actually a U.S. citizen, and how some American citizens are kind of feel like they're dying or like they're not citizens, and America seems to be kind of like in turmoil because certain people don't feel like they're citizens and stuff like that or have rights and etc. So I actually found this book downstairs, and I got it for free. I found it downstairs, just sitting, in the giveaway stuff. It's the essential reading to any American who cares about the fate of our nation. It's called The Dying Citizen. How progressive elites, tribalism, globalism are destroying the idea of America. I mean, he does lectures, he does video lectures and stuff where he gets into a lot of this and talks about what it needs about our Constitution and our rights as citizens, and how we should really kind of be more, give more a damn about the Constitution and the rights of being an American citizen, and how the woke movement has always been a problem for America and stuff like that, and how it's kind of affected things for America and for centuries, and and how America needs to either overcome that, or we're going to end up maybe in a lot of other crises and issues going forward. But this is called The Dying Citizen by Victor Davis Hanson. So this is another book. Remember I was talking about the woman I was trying to buy some books from. She had about like 4 or 5 books I wanted to buy from her, but I got them all for like $5-6 on Amazon. I got them cheaper. She wanted to sell me them for like almost $15 a book, and I got them for like $5 through Amazon, just gently used. But this is called How to Adult, a Practical Guide. Advice on living, loving, working, and spending like a grown-up. And yes, I do love stuff like this. I do love reading stuff like this. This is another book I was talking. As I said before, there were a couple of books as I just said, just after the previous book I just shown. It's another book that I would have maybe gotten from the woman from a different site. It's by Robin L. Goblin. She's a PhD. It's a self-care prescription, the power solutions to manage stress, reduce anxiety, increase well-being. And this other book, which I'm going to go back to this other book for a minute. This other book is by Jamie Goldstein, PSYD. So this was another book. As I said before, I got a handful of them by a lady. I was originally gonna get them from a lady that was selling some books and other things, but she kind of screwed me over. So I got them off of Amazon. This is called The Mindful Self-Comparison: A Practical Guide to Cultivate Self-Awareness, Nurture Emotional Well-Being by Tiffany Shelton Mariel, who has a PhD. So I had gotten a gift card. From the insurance company. And I used some of it on seltzers, and I had a little bit of spending because I just got paid So I ended up going to. I mean, this has happened like in March or April. I happened. This happened. This happened right. Right before I got almost like got quarantined for 2 months, and nobody would meet with me for 2 months. So this has happened right beforehand. I had gotten my seltzers and from CVS because I happened to have a gift card and I wasn't able to get pay for the seltzers out of pocket, so I got a gift card which I used to get myself some seltzer waters for the house for the month, and I got 2 books. I got 2 books at CVS Pharmacy that were by doctors and PhD people. So this is by Dr. Ski Clinton, the Dr. Margaret Recastilius, and A.J. Gregory. It's called The Rewired Brain. Free yourself from negative behaviors and release your best self. That was a book. That was a book I got with my gift card. What the fuck? That was a book I got with my gift card. That was so. This is another book I got with my gift card. It's a smaller book. It cost me a little bit less than the other one. The other one I just showed you. It's called How to Deal with Toxic People, by Gregory L. Jansen, PhD, with Keith Hall. With Keith Wall. They have a couple of these little psychology books over at the CVS Pharmacy. They didn't have them like months before because I had gotten a gift card like more than once, so they didn't have them months before. But I ended up going, and when I ended up getting the gift card, I just went back one day and they had books, so I said, okay, I'm gonna get 2 books to read. Why not? So here I am talking again about Italian poetry. This is another book by an Italian poet that was from Italy, Greece, Taiwan, South Korea, and the United States, I believe. Had like different publishings, but it's by Camillo Severino, something. I'm screwing up names here. It's called Shavings. Selected Prose and Poems, 1914 to 1940. Translated by Gail Rid something. I screw up names. That's one thing about me when I read. I screw up names. So don't judge me. So I got this book, which is kind of about interracial relationships and mixed race children. It's actually a book by somebody who was actually I got a book by in this month's book haul, but named Natasha Treataway. Natasha Treataway, who's the poet laureate of the United States. And it's a book on interracial children and interracial relationships. It's called Thrall, which is a book of poems. So this was a free book. This was a free book. I go over to my food bank once a month, and sometimes they'll have some free things you can look through and stuff, and people can take. So sometimes they'll have books and stuff, and sometimes I'll look through the books and take books and stuff. I actually got this book, and I'm actually interested more in reading more of this person's work. Because I also heard of them. I also heard of them through some of the TV shows that they had, or etc. Because I know Tangerine Thomas, or Tangerine. I forgot her real name. Her maiden name. What's her maiden name? It was Tangerine Thomas, I think it was, or I forget. But Tangerine is a black woman. She's a public figure and personality person out in California. She's a comedian and stuff, and she's done some acting for the person who kind of makes these novels and stuff. But let's put it this way: these are novels basically based off of they're sex novels basically. They're sex novels. So I basically got a free, and I've heard of them. I think it's a lady. I believe it's a lady under the name Zane. Um, but they're basically novels about women with like sex addictions and stuff like that, and um, but yeah. There's a whole series by the author named Zane, and she had a TV show too. I'm trying to think of what it was called, but I know Tangerine Thomas also was an actress on that. Which there were sex scenes with Tangerine Thomas and other people involved in the show. Um, so this is a poetry book I got called Autopsy by Poems by Dante Collins. I believe I got this off of Amazon. I got this book with a free credit, so I wasn't, I didn't have to really pay for this book. This book came to me with a free credit, so this is a book called The Song of Napalm, Poems by Bruce Weigel, Weigel or something. And this is a book basically based off of the Vietnam Korean War, basically. Basically that's what these poems are about. So I haven't really normally did anything like when it comes to like my local poets in this. I haven't really done anything with like my local poets. I haven't really, haven't really posted too much on my local poets, when it comes to like my whole videos, because I haven't really supported too many of my local poets. I haven't had the money, but I did happen to get this book because I did have a little bit of money at one point. I did get to go see this person as the feature. This person featured 1 month, and I couldn't go to the poetry event because I kind of got held up in some things. But it's called Just Another Sunrise, Poems to the Sun by Fred Simpson, who's a local poet. I believe he was from the Middlebury, area, towards like Naugatuck and stuff, where I kind of grew up. And he's now he lived in like, Manhattan, I think, a little bit, and I think he now I think he's now in Torrington or something. So he had, he had came to our open mics that I do. I go to the open mic, I read my 5 minutes of poems and stuff, and he gets up there and reads his and stuff, and he usually has his books for sale and stuff. So I bought one of his books. This book was one of the books that were on my mom, that I owe my mom money for. This is basically a true story about slavery. I kid you not. This is the #1 international bestseller, and it's a true story about slavery. It's called Slave: My True Story by Mendy Nezar and Damian Lewis. And this is a little bit about the book. It says, at the age of 12, Mendy Nezar lost her childhood, which began one horrific night in 1993 when the Arab raiders swept her through her Nubia village, setting fire to the village huts and murdering the adults. The raiders rounded up 31 young children, including Mendia, who was eventually sold into the wealthy Arab family of Sudan's city capital of Khartoum. She began Mendy's several dark years of enslavement. Normally made Mendy's story never would have come to light, but when she was sent to work for another master of deployment, working in London, she made a dramatic break for freedom. Published critically acclaimed for honesty, clarity, in its prose, Slave is a story almost beyond belief. It depicts the strength and dignity of the Nubia tribe. recounts the savage cruelty of the secrets of the modern-day trade slaves. Most of all, its profound meditation on human ability to survive under virtually any circumstances. So this was another book I got from my mom, on my mom, because my mom, my mom and I had to like do the whole thing where I had to work it out with her. But I got this book, Confessions of a Video Vixen by Kareen Steffens or something. She's a video vixen. She did a lot of like videos for famous rappers and stuff, and and stuff like that. So. Alright, so I bought this book. I bought this book for like $5-6 on Amazon. This is the last book of the book haul. Thank you for bearing with me. It's a lot to go through. I'm gonna have a lot to pick up now that two piles just fell on the floor. But this is a book by Max Lucado, who is a Christian author. He's a New York Times best-selling author. It's called Anxious for Nothing: Finding Calm in the Chaotic World. And it's about anxieties and being anxious, which I thought I should grab. So. But that's basically the book haul for I believe, March and April. March and April's book haul is basically that. I hope you enjoyed the book haul, just enjoying and seeing what I'm actually reading and what I'm actually investing my time in and actually, partaking in and stuff like that. I hope you really enjoy, my videos. I mean, I trying to make them. If I don't make them for just anybody, I'll just make them for myself, because I kind of enjoy being able to talk about the books that I have invested in, or the books that I bought to be able to read and enjoy and stuff like that. So, but this is my April and March book haul. So, I'm not going back any further than this, but I might do more poetry, who knows. But I may even just pick up a drawing pad and start drawing this weekend. Who the hell knows? I mean, the moment I say that is the moment I might not do it, but if I do it, I'm not going to put pressure on myself to do too much. If it feels right, I'm going to do it. That's basically what's going to happen. If it feels right and I'm okay with it and it works, I'm going to do it. So here is the poetry video, the book haul video for April and March. I hope you enjoy it. Peace.